I know as a child, we begin to dream, don't we? We're told we can be anything we want. You know, I was told as a child we can be an astronaut, and then I watched the Challenger explode, and I was like, no, thank you. I got on a merry-go-round and got sick and threw up and couldn't even swing on the swing set. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to be an astronaut. You know, here's what I find, is that we can't be whatever we want to be, but we can be whatever God's called us to be. Ain't a devil in hell, an obstacle in life that can stop us from being what God's called us to be. But these children you saw up here, man, they're full of hopes and ambitions and dreams, and they're trying to figure things out. And you know what? You know what they don't need? They don't need the struggles at home and the obstacles in their. They need to be able to be kids. They need to have the freedom to think and to live and to know Jesus and to experience God and His presence and have a father that leads them and a mother that loves them. And you know what? If that's not happening in your home, God can move in a different way, and He can do it differently and still be present and be the leading. And listen, He's the father to the fatherless. But I know as a child, we start dreaming about what we're going to be and when we grow up. And you remember those days? And now you're just sort of like trying to make it to work on Monday. You're like, oh, it's Monday. But do you remember as a child, the imaginations we used to have? Man, I was flying all the time in my head. I love Spider-Man and Superman. And I'd be little and I'd grab Mom's towel and I'd be out on the front porch of my underwear jumping off of stuff and trying to fly. Thought I could be Superman, right? Thought I could be Spider-Man. I'd climb the house and shoot my web and tie a rope to a gutter and try to swing on it and it'd break the gutter, and then I'd run in the house and act like I didn't know what was going on and my dad had to fix the gutter. Then a child goes to school and their mind starts expanding. They start learning. They learn different things. They learn from different kids. They get different cultures around them, and they discover there's possible paths. And then you go to high school and the pressure really kicks in, doesn't it? How many of y'all remember senior year where you had to come up and talk about where you were going to school and what you were going to be? And that's a lot of pressure right there, isn't it? And so you got to figure out what you're going to be, and the pressure kicks in. You got to figure out, am I going to go to the military? Am I going to go to college? Am I going to join the workforce, or am I going to jail? You got to make a choice. You got to figure out something, don't you? Then you go to college. Whew, anxiety builds, doesn't it? Then you start getting all this stuff on your plate. You got relationships, you got work, you got school, you got everything going on, and then you join a career path in the workforce, and then you try to figure out. They say the average person changes their career 4 times in their life. So if you're young and you don't like what you're doing, you have the possibility of changing 3 more times. But that's the average that does that. You're trying to figure things out, and I love it. Then we get a plan for life, and we got it all figured out, and then we get married. You know, the problem with marriage is 2 become 1. But the fight becomes which one? Right? We celebrated 60 years with Art and Cecilia, and we both know they became, yeah, we had a good time Thursday. But we both know they became Cecilia, you know. I told him Thursday that I was talking to Art, what's the secret to 60 years? And he said, as a man, you better have the last 2 words. And I said, what are those 2 words? And he said, yes, ma'am. Oh, I love it. Then we get plans. We make our plans, and then we sort of figure out marriage, and then we have children. Then we have kids, and I love to see a young family that plan. Oh, we're going to have our child, and in the morning, while she sleeps or he sleeps, we're going to read Leviticus. We're going to get into our devotions, but we just got. Oh, we're going to take him to the coffee shop, and we're going to just go and have breakfast and just love on him while he lulls us with his coos and his. And let me tell you something. If you have children, you can throw every plan you have away. You say, oh, Pastor, I got 1 kid, and they're really good. Wait till the second one comes. Something always happened. And I had 2. And there's always that one that, boy, they test everything you got. And the other one, you're just like, thank you, God, because I don't know if I could handle that twice, right? And then we hit our 50s and 60s, and then the pressure of retirement comes in, and what do we do, and how do we make enough money where we don't have to work anymore, and there's all these plans that we got to make, right? And so people, they fall in 1 or 2 ways of planning, and there's these kind of people, and they plan, and the plan never works, so they stop planning. Anybody in that group? We make plans, but they never work, so we just stop doing it. My wife and I tried to go to Galveston one time. We were like, you know what, we're not going to make any plans. We're just going to go. And we're trying to find a place. I thought we was going to have to sleep in a tent out on the beach or something. We didn't have a tent, and we trying to figure out where to eat. It was miserable. It's like, man, we got a plan, right? Then you got that other group that they stick with their plan no matter what. They don't like to pivot or deviate or nothing. And it's got to be this way. How many of you got that Disney trip or whatever you're doing? And it's like, we're doing this. And plans are great until you add people. Here's the first thing I want you to understand that James is going to tell us today is that life has uncertainties. Life has uncertainty. James chapter 4, verse 13 and 14, it says, "Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a town and spend a year there and trade and make profit." But he says, yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. You don't know what tomorrow will bring. Here's what I do know. Life has uncertainties, and we have to understand that we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We can plan tomorrow. There's nothing wrong with that. But we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And you know, we came here in 2019 in April. And I remember, we started growing the church. We was having a fun time. People are coming. It's growing. And then we had plans. And man, we were getting ready to plan. We were planning the third service. We were doing all kind of stuff. Man, we were excited. It was fun. And then COVID hit. And you know what was not part of any of my plans? Was the world shutting down, crippling the economy, and a brutal election, and then we couldn't get things off the boat. Y'all remember those times? We were putting coffee mugs in bags, and we couldn't get coffee mugs off the boat, so we couldn't even get, I was talking to churches all over the United States. No one could order coffee mugs for their church because you couldn't get them off a boat. And we were trying to, we had to deviate, we had to pivot on things. It was crazy. And I want you to hear me. God's not against planning, but he is against presumption. We can't be presumptuous. There's a book of the Bible called Proverbs, and it's full of wisdom, and I love to read one every day. Whatever the day of week we're in, I love to read that proverb. And it's good wisdom for life, and it's just a wisdom book. It's about planning, and it talks about how wise people make plans. It's important to make plans. We should make plans. But God is against presumption, he's against arrogance, and he's against pride. And here's what God showed me, was always make sure that your plans are in pencil. Make sure they're in pencil, because they may change. And so you got leaders around us. They love, I call them false prophets. They love to oversell everything. Come on. They love to underdeliver everything. We call them elections. Everybody's got a plan to fix everything, don't they? And then when they get in there, they don't fix anything. And so plans are great, like I said, until you add people. I've been in locker rooms where coaches are like, man, here's the plan for halftime. We're going to go back out in that third quarter, and here's the way we're going to win this game. And then you have to put that plan against the defense who has a different plan, and you got to figure out that, man, who's got the better plan? And so plans are good, but I think we have to be honest. I think we have to really, when we plan things, we have to understand that you have to be honest. You have to live in honesty. You have to have margin. You have to have contingency. How many of you know that contractor that said it'll only take 2 weeks and only $5,000? Next thing you know, you're 6 months and $70,000. Plans don't always work out. And there's two kind of leaders, and we got to figure out what we're going to be. You have the process leader, and they're the kind, they make a plan and they stick with it no matter what. How many of you remember that? I'll never homeschool. Now we got moms being teachers at home. They never planned to do that. Anybody ever said you wouldn't do something and now you're doing it? Yeah, I learned a long time ago. I love to hear people say, I'll never. Okay. God just went, we're going to put that in your planning. I'll make sure you do that once just to humble you. Think about it. Then we got the other kind. You got pivotal leaders, and they make a plan, but they know how to adjust. You have to have a plan, but you have to know how to pivot, how to adjust. And when you say pivot, I think of basketball. When you get stuck and you stop the ball, you can stay on one foot, and you could change your direction all day and figure out which way do I need to go. Pivoting. You got to be a pivotal leader. You have to be a pivotal parent. You have to. We got a call from Waldorf the other day, who's in contracts with us, and they said, "Hey, we didn't get enough kids to sign up for school, so we're sending out emails to seniors and all these other kids saying there's no school for you at this place." They were planning everything, and then boom, Waldorf won't have a school this year. No school. But they made plans to have a school. Now they're trying to figure out other things. See, the greatest pivot that you can make in your life is you're going one way and you pivot and you start following Jesus. Man, that's a great pivot in your life. I want you to think about that, because as Jesus, when you pivot to Jesus, you're actually on your way to hell and you pivot to heaven. Isn't that good news? We got to be pivotal kind of people. Whenever we're going our own way, we're dependent on ourselves, and we're independent on ourselves. And when we pivot to Jesus, we become independent on Him. When you pivot, whenever you're living your own life, the weight of your own sin and your shame and your everything is on you. But when you pivot to Jesus, He takes it to the cross for you and forgives you. You no longer have that. You can give it to Jesus. You had no consideration of God's word, and then you submit and you pivot and you begin to submit to God's word and let it be part of your life. That's the greatest pivot that you could possibly have in your life as a leader. Today is the day that God's telling you to pivot and change direction, because life has uncertainties. I know we're praying for Miss Mary and her family, and lost her mother this week, and I know she was 98 years young, but wow. You have to pivot now. It's different. I'm sorry, no, it wasn't Mary's mother. It was her. I'm sorry, Mary. That was a different one. Who was it? Julie's mother died, and she was 98. I'm sorry, Mary's brother died. She's looking at me like, my mama ain't 98. I don't have a mama. Just shake your head and go with me, honey, and you just make everybody think I know what I'm talking about. Life's full of uncertainties. You're here today and you're gone tomorrow, and you think, well, man, I'm a teenager. Listen, you're not bulletproof. Life is full of uncertainties. You can make plans tomorrow, but I'm telling you, learn to pivot to Jesus, because you don't know what tomorrow holds. How many of you been seeing in the news all these young people dying of heart attacks? LeBron James, 18, he fell on the court of a heart attack. They saved his life. But there was a young girl, she was at A&M, she was a junior in high school, and she was at a cheer camp, and she died of a heart attack. I saw another one. There was a young boy on the soccer field that just died of a heart attack. One day was going strong, next day gone, not here. Life is full of uncertainties. Proverbs 21:5 says, the plans of the diligent lead surely to the plenty. Proverbs 19:21 says, many are the plans in the mind of man, but it is the purpose of God, the purpose of the Lord, who will stand. Life has uncertainties. I think we've all experienced that. Life also has brevity, and it's short. James 4:14 says it this way: what is your life? For you are a mist that appears only for a little time and then vanishes. We're here today and we're gone tomorrow. My mom, she'll turn 91 this October, and she tells me all the time, she says, it just seemed like yesterday I was with my brothers and sisters they were sharecroppers, and their family picked cotton, and she tells me, she said, it just seems like yesterday we were all children running around picking cotton and working fields and doing those things, and she says, I look in the mirror and I don't even know who that is anymore. She says, I can't believe that's an old woman in the mirror, because it goes by so fast. There's books in the Bible called wisdom literature, and we find there Job and a Song of Solomon's and Proverbs, and we find Psalms, and James is one of them, and they're wisdom for us. God's word is full of wisdom so that we know how to live our lives in the short, brief time that we have. See, I believe that I'm walking with God, but in that journey I'm having with Him, I have to have wisdom to say, God, how should I be thinking about this situation? God, what should my motive be here? God, am I doing the right thing? Am I stepping in the right paths? Am I acting the way I should be acting? Come on, I think whenever we understand life is short, we come to the one who created life and understand there's uncertainties, and we have to figure these things out. God, where should I be working at? You know, I find that we spend so much time planning our lives that we don't really live it. God, should I be working at this place? God, what should I be doing here? Should I marry this person? Should I live in this town? And you have these wisdom books of like Ecclesiastes that they teach us about philosophy long before there was ever Aristotle and Plato and Socrates. And we have the Song of Solomon that teaches us about love. It really teaches us what God's love is. We have the book of Job. That anybody ever go through some suffering? It teaches us how to be people that suffer and struggle and know how to lean to God. The book of Psalm teaches us how to worship God through highs and lows in our lives. How many know we need these things? We really need these things practically And Ecclesiastes tells us is there's the meaning of life. And James is pulling a lot from Ecclesiastes because the word in Ecclesiastes is hubble. And it says it many times. And it talks about, this word is really telling us it's hard to nail down what life really is. Do y'all remember when you had life figured out? Anybody remember when you were young and you're like, I got it figured out, man. Here's my path. Here's what I'm going to do. Next thing you know, that company shuts down and you can't do that anymore, or this happens, or next thing you know you're moving, or what? Life, it's hard. Life can be like Jell-O, can it? You ever try to nail Jell-O to a wall? This is what life really can be like sometimes. It's a vapor, the Bible tells us. It's fleeting. It's quickly passing. You ever been outside on a cool, crisp morning and you breathe and that you see your breath and it's gone? That's life. That's what it says life is. And I'll tell you this, I look at me and I'm 47 and I look at my mirror and I'm just like, what in the world? Cindy was posting some pictures or shooting pictures to our family on a text message and showing me when I was good looking and skinny and I had all that hair and y'all ain't gonna know me in heaven. I'm gonna get to heaven, you be like, who are you again? I'm gonna be like, I'm Pastor Brian, remember me? And you be like, oh, look at all the hair. I'm gonna be like, yeah. You ain't gonna know me up there. But I look back and it was just yesterday. I had that little Ford Ranger driving 15 miles to your house every day after work and going to see you and no children. Do you remember those days? And then all of a sudden, here comes the little boys. And I remember just yesterday, they were climbing on me and just doing all kind of crazy stuff. And here they are now. They're big and grown and smelly. How many know what I'm talking about? It just goes so fast. So fast. Life has sacred moments. And we always end up doing this, don't we, people? We always say, tomorrow I'll make that phone call tomorrow. I'll go by and check on them tomorrow. I'll let them know I love them tomorrow. I remember my dad's deathbed, man. I look back, it's 11 years since Dad's been gone. Gone. And I'm so thankful that I stood in those moments and I kept those sacred moments with him. And I said what I needed to say, and he said what he needed to say. And we had those moments. So many times, we lose those moments. And we just spread apart, and we let life just go, don't we? Don't miss sacred moments. I remember when my boys, I told you it's a little bit more of a living room moment for me. I remember when my boys were in sports, and I was like, we were not going to miss anything. And I'd have one son playing out of town, and the other side, Cindy would always make sure that she was in the hometown games. And I would get done with the out-of-town game, and he had to take the bus back with the school. And I would get in the truck, and I'd run back home real quick and try to catch at least the fourth quarter or the last inning of my youngest son, whoever was playing in town. And I made sure I was there for everything because I wanted my children to know that Dad will always be there until he's not. And that was so important to me in my life, that I was always there for my children and my wife. And we get so busy planning to live that we forget to live sometimes, don't we? Anybody getting anything this morning? Let the Holy Spirit speak to you. We get so busy getting ready for tomorrow, we look over opportunities that are provided today. Who's in front of you? Who do you need to make that call to? Who do you need to say that to? I tell my wife, Cindy, and she's sitting here and can verify this. I tell her every day how beautiful you are. So beautiful. I love you. And I tell her she's beautiful. I always kiss her. I never walk out the door assuming that I'm not going to come back. Listen, I'm serious. When I walk out the door, I never assume I'm coming back because I don't know what life holds. So I will always kiss her and hug her and tell her I love her. Because here's what happens. When you walk out the door and you think that you're coming back, and I'll kiss her when I come back. I'll do it later. I'll take care of that later. Here's what you're doing. You're putting yourself over God and you're saying, I'm sovereign. I control the future. But we see life's uncertain and it's short. Here's the good news. In a world that's uncertain and that is so short, God has sovereignty. I'm so thankful for that. In all the things we have to deal with in life, all the rocky moments, all the struggles, the hurt, the pain, we have a God who's sovereign. There is a God, and he's in charge, and he's good, and he calls himself a father to us. And in verse 15, James puts it this way. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. See, life is full of uncertainties. Life has brevity. And you and I are not God, but he is, and he's sovereign. And we have to trust him. See, planning is not a problem. Presumption is. Presumption is. God opposes the proud, and he gives grace to the humble. You know, we'll use this sometimes as a cliche. Oh, if the Lord willing. We used to have it. Now, I'm from Texas, and my family, I did not realize how country I was until I left. Anybody know what I'm talking about? You don't know how northern New Mexico you are until you go somewhere else. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Y'all go to, you know, you go out of town, you go to another state, and you're like, can I get a green chili? And they're like, what? Next thing you know, they bring back bell pepper on your pizza, and you're just like, what? This is the closest thing we have. We don't even know what green chili is, right? And we used to say, Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. Anybody ever heard that old statement? Not even sure what it means, but I said it all my life. But we have a God who's sovereign, and I'm not sovereign. And Proverbs 16:3 says, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and your plans will succeed. Listen, I believe I'm walking in the Lord's will. I really do. But I welcome him if he wants to make any changes in my life. Don't get so staunch to where you think that's your next step. Be open and have your hand open with your life, that if God says, hey, I'm going to turn you to the left, you're not fighting him, because you'll miss out on what God has for you. Don't make succeeding your goal. You know, we always try to, I'm gonna be successful. I'm gonna make a name for myself. And can I tell you something? Maybe that's not what God has for you. Just make it a goal to live in God's will. And in that, listen, when you live in that will, there is blessings. There is favor. There is mercy. Brother, you can chop meat at Albertsons and be the happiest person in the world, because you're in the favor of God. You're in the will of God. You can be a bank teller. I don't care, you can work at the dentist office. And people go, I'd hate to work at a dentist office. And she's like, this is the best thing ever, because I'm in the will of God, and I get to share Jesus, and I get to be around. And listen, someone else's will may not be your will. Don't judge people's wills. Too many times we try to tell God what our plans are instead of asking God, what's your plan for me? What's your plan for me? You know, Cindy and I were getting ready to buy a house whenever we had graduated. We both had great jobs with the state. We were getting ready to buy it was a beautiful home. It even had what we wanted. We wanted that tin roof on the back, so when it rained, rain is something that falls out of the sky. That's wet. Some of y'all, you only see it every once in a while, but that's what we called it back in Texas. And when it rained, it hit the tin roof, and it was so, we sat on 3/4 of an acre. It had a pool. We had palm trees. This guy brought in palm trees from Florida, and we were getting ready to buy this house, but man, it was a struggle, because it was a whopping $65,000. And that is, yeah. So anyway, all of a sudden, I didn't know what was going on, but there's two things I said I never would do. I would never go into ministry, because my dad was a pastor and I saw how people treated him. I don't want nothing to do with them. I don't want nothing to do with that. God, you can have that. I don't get it, don't want it. I saw some hateful things in ministry. And I saw parents that come home and prayed behind people's backs. Second thing I said I never would do, I'd never join the military. Military's I ain't going to the military. Forget that. As we were getting ready to sign papers on our house, and I told Cindy, I was like, I can't sign them. I'm supposed to go to the military. And me and a buddy went in the Air Force. It's the military. For some of y'all, Marines, Army, and stuff like that, Navy, y'all. Air Force is in the military. Marines and Army, they always picking on it, right? But I decided to go in the military. And at military, at basic training, God got a hold of my heart, and he called me into the ministry. And I started seeing people in my platoon getting saved in my dorm. And it was the craziest thing. I come back witnessing. My plan was to work for the state, have good jobs, raise a family, have some palm trees, a nice pool, beautiful wife, beautiful kids, and I was going to live right there in a little town called Tig, Texas. I don't know if any of y'all ever heard of it, but it's north of Waco. And I was going to live there. We were going to live our lives out, and I'm going to retire from the state. I had all these plans. And God said, no, son. I'm going to send you to the two places you said you didn't ever want to go. Ministry and military. And in the military, he called me into ministry. And now I get to teach the Word of God, and I'm in the perfect will of God, and I absolutely love my life. I love my life. That wasn't my plan. And can I tell you something? God not only saved my soul, he saved me from me a lot of times. Let me finish, because we're gonna respond in worship, and Pastor Andreas is gonna lead us in communion. And we're gonna respond, and we're just gonna have a good time this morning. We're gonna dismiss and get you out, and you're gonna go eat lunch and get your kids ready for school, and it's gonna be a great week. But I want to give you two quick things for you and me. Understanding this, we should have humility. We should have humility. James says in verse 16, I only have two more verses. As it is, you boast in your arrogance. All such boasting is evil. See, here's what happens. Boasting causes us to make promises we can't keep. And we overcommit to things that we can't really do. We get stuck. Your boss will promise you that raise or that promotion. It doesn't happen. The coach promised you that position. It didn't happen. You see, we get all these people, these candidates, they'll come out and say, my favorite joke really is that one where the dad was reading to his little child, and he said, once upon a time there, he was reading his fairy tales, and she said, he says, she said, Dad, do all fairy tales start with once upon a time? And he goes, no, baby. He says, most of them start with, if I get elected. I don't know if there's any politicians in the room, but John chapter 5 verse 36 says this, the works that the Father has given me to accomplish, the very works I'm going to do. I love this. Watch this. God has only given you the energy to do what he's called you to do. So when you're tired and you're feeling full of Monsters and Red Bulls and you're trying to always, it's because you're doing more than what God's called you to do. And that's why we live in a culture that's anxious, hostile, burned out, and struggling, because we overextend ourselves. And when we do that, we hurt ourselves and we hurt the ones we love. And when we overextend ourselves, we take away from the people who need us the most. Come on. I told you, I'm just giving you a living room moment this morning. And here's what I want you to understand. We've all been given a plate. Some of you trying to walk around with a hubcap. Some of you got that big old platter. You know what I'm talking about? And you're trying to walk around with it. You got to know your plate, and you got to understand it belongs to God. So here's four quick things. Know that your plate belongs to God. Listen, your life is his, not yours. You are just stewarding moments and people around you. That's all you're doing. The second thing is this, knowing the size of your plate. I'm going to tell somebody something. Watch this, watch this. You got to know the size of your plate. Okay, are y'all ready? Watch this. When you do more than what's supposed to be on your plate, it's because you're prideful and arrogant, and it's actually boasting that you can do more. But God never called you to do that. And your time is being spent and wasted on things that it should not be spent on. Here's the third thing. Know what to take off your plate. You know these people that are late to everything? You know these people that are tired all the time? These people that are always in a hurry? Which, by the way, we all get there. We're all there. It's because you have too much on your plate. I want you to think about this. Jesus didn't heal everybody. Jesus, he took a day off. I love this. We find in the Gospels, Jesus took a nap. Somebody say amen. Jesus took a nap. Some of y'all would look at Jesus in that day and say, hey, you only going to live 33 years. Get up. What are you doing? We don't have time to sleep. We got work to do. Here's the fourth thing. Know what to put on your plate. Know what to put, because you know what? A lot of times when we say yes to things and we take things on, it's an arrogant boast. Because I can do that. I can handle that. I can do that. It's arrogance. It's boasting, and it's evil. Here we go. Listen, we should have urgency. James 4:17. I'm going to close this up. I'm going to ask the worship team to come. And it says this, so whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin. Two things you can't control in life. How many days you have and what the next day has. But you know what you can control? You can control the moment you're in right now. We can control that moment. You know how we find God's will? The first way we find God's will is through Scripture. Isn't it funny how the enemy tries to keep us away from Scripture? God reveals his will through Scripture. God, how am I supposed to love this woman you gave me? He lines it out for me. God, how am I supposed to raise my children? God's word lines it out for me. God, what I put my hands to, how am I supposed to do this? What's my motives? What's my intentions? God, how am I supposed to? We need to come to God more than the older I get, the more I realize I need more prayer and I need more wisdom. Isn't it funny? The older we get, it's not that we become wiser, it's that we really, the wisdom in being older really is that all my old people in the house, you're going to agree with me on this, you come to a place that you realize you don't really know nothing. And you're just like, I get it now. I don't know anything. And it's freeing. And then you die. And you don't get to really use that wisdom. The second way we find the will of God is through prayer. We need prayer. We had 23 in here last Sunday night praying. Praying over you, praying over schools, praying over our community, our economy, our government. We didn't come in here and bash things. We came in here and prayed for things. We need prayer. Talking and listening to God. Listening to God. Somebody say listening to God. Humbling ourselves and just listening to Him. We say, God, you are sovereign. We don't know what to do. Tell us what to do. And through worship and word and prayer, He tells us. And we're about to worship together. And you know what we're doing when we worship? We're actually singing scripture. And it's our way of praying together. And God moves through that. And we're about to respond. And I'm going to ask you, don't get anything ready. Don't you walk out of this room. Let us finish this service. People have been praying for this moment for people for 30 years. Don't be the reason they don't get touched this morning, because you got to get up and go. Don't do it. Here's the third way we find God's will. It's wise counsel. James is a tough book. How many of you say amen? You think it's hard you're listening to it. You ought to be the one preaching it. I know I've offended. I know people left this church since the book of James and said, I ain't going back there no more. I can't do anything for you. James is offensive. That's just the way it is. But I'll tell you this. James tells us wise counsel. And here's what I find. I've never been married before. I've never been in this place with this one. We're getting ready to celebrate 29 years. Listen, this is a different woman than I married. How many of you men know what I'm talking about? This woman on the front row is not the Cindy I married back in 96, 95. Oh, see, I almost did it. And so you know what I say? Teach me. God, I've never raised children before. Teach me. God, I'm pastoring in a time where I don't know what to teach me. God, I'm with my wife. We're empty nesters. We're older. We're retired. Teach me. Teach me. Teach me. And the fourth way we find the will of God is the Holy Spirit. He'll use extraordinary and He'll use ordinary means to speak to you. And He reveals things to us. And when He reveals it to us through His word, we need to obey it. Come on, somebody. We need to obey it. So many people are planning to do things that God has already planned for them to do. Here's my question to you this morning as I close. What is it God's telling you to do that you're not doing? Here's another question. What are you doing that God's telling you to stop doing? My final thought this morning as we pray and we worship and we're going to take communion is God is working out His plan for everyone and everything. With every eye closed and every head bowed. Thank you for this living room moment. I'm your pastor and I love you and I just want to share with you. And as we get ready to worship, I want to close with this, and we're going to sing and we're going to communion and we're going to end it and we're going to let you go on your way. But life is short, uncertain, and God is sovereign. We need wisdom. We need wisdom. We need to be humble. Today's a good day to say, I'm sorry. Today's a good day to pick up the phone and say, hey, can we talk? Today's a good day to say, will you forgive me? Today's a good day to wrap somebody in your arms and say, I love you. See, the enemy's trying to divide us. There's some families in here that are broken and you got stuck. It's time you humbled yourself and said, I want to apologize and I'm sorry. And you're more important to me than anything else I've been pursuing in this life. Because listen, your family is your first ministry. I'm going to say that again. Your family is your first ministry. Humble yourself and love them. Humble yourself and have a relationship. Apologize. Go to God and say, God, forgive me. Because some of you right now are going, yeah, but I'm not in the wrong and they shouldn't. Listen, quit being presumptuous and ask God for wisdom. Father, I pray over each individual in this room. And as we get ready to respond in worship, Holy Spirit, would you speak to them like they've never been spoken? Would you break hearts like never been broken? Would you begin to let them lay down swords and begin to stop tearing things down and cutting it down, and let them pick up a trowel and begin to build their family? It is so much harder to build than it is to destroy. And God, today we're going to be people of your word, and we're going to begin to build our families, build our community, build our church, not having grudges, not talking about people. We're going to lay things down and say, I'm sorry. We're going to commune with our kids again. We're going to commune with our families, and we're going to admit some things, and we're going to begin to let God heal, because you're sovereign and I'm not.